January 23, 1565, the 96-year-old king of Vijayanagara was carried into battle even as he was seated on an actual throne. By evening, his head was on a spear, and in just a matter of hours, the greatest empire in Indian history had collapsed. The Portuguese chronicler Domingo Pais had visited Vijayanagara in 1520. He climbed a hill because he was in good health. What he saw, he wrote, was a city that was larger than Rome and very beautiful to the sight. There were groves of trees within it, conduits of water flowing into the midst, and beautiful lake. There were streets that were wide and sold gold, diamond, cotton, pure silk, and anything that money could hope to buy. Pais called it the best provided city in the world. However, just 2 years after the battle, another Italian traveler, Caesaro Federici, found the same city empty, inhabited only by tigers and wild beasts. Today, let's talk about how the greatest empire in India ever collapsed due to the arrogance of a ruler. This arrogance has lessons for rulers of empires today, and that is why the history of Vijayanagara is a history that deserves to be remembered. The Hindu kingdom of Vijayanagara was located in the Deccan. It was surrounded by 5 Muslim sultanates that had risen from the Bahmani Empire. However, they were at war, but both Vijayanagara and the Bahmani Empire were founded from the same wound. In the 1320s, the Sultan of Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, pushed his armies south into the Deccan. Now, this Tughlaq was an incredibly cruel man. Think of a cruel person like your boss. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was 100 times more cruel than that. The Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta gives a story of how he dealt with the city of Delhi. Tughlaq decided to move his capital. He ordered all the people in Delhi to leave. However, his soldiers found a blind man in one house and a bedridden man in another. The Sultan said that the bedridden man should be shot from a cannon, not great for your life expectancy. And as for the blind man, he was dragged by his feet towards the Sultan's new capital of Daulatabad. It was a journey of 10 days and his limbs dropped off along the way. Only one of his legs reached the destination. Now this brings us to how Vijayanagara was founded. In 1323, the Sultan's forces sacked the Hindu city of Warangal. 2 brothers of the Kuruba caste, men of strong religious feelings, had served in the treasury. They fled. They took service under the Raja of Anegundi on the Tungabhadra river. Tughlaq defeated the Sultan of Anegundi, but he found that the people were very strong for him. The Sultan, faced with a country he could not hold, restored it to the Hindus. And he made a compromise. He raised one of 2 brothers to the rank of a Raja. His name was Harihara, and his brother Bukka became minister and treasurer. Now, according to one chronicle, this is the amazing story of how Vijayanagara was born. The new chief was hunting in the hills south of the river when a hare turned on dogs that were chasing him, and it bit the dogs. On the riverbank, this new chief saw this sight and he was very impressed. On the riverbank, he met a sage called Madhavacharya, who was also known as Vidyaranya, which means forest of learning. The sage told him to found a city on that spot. Things were also heating up on the Muslim side. The local sultans rebelled against a cruel Tughlaq, and they made one of their own, Alauddin Hassan, as Sultan of the Deccan, and he took the name Bahmani. And this was a kingdom that would last for nearly 140 years. They fought constantly, and millions of people died in hundreds of conflicts over the years. But like boring human beings and boring movies, empires too must come to an end. By the end of the 15th century, the Bahmani Sultanate started to break apart. Around 1490, it split into 5 successor states: the Adil Shahs of Bijapur, the Nizam Shahs of Ahmadnagar, the Qutub Shahs of Golconda, the Barid Shahs of Bidar, and the Imad Shahs of Berar. And these guys didn't get along. They spent most of their existence at war with one another. The kingdom of Vijayanagara at this time was Krishna Deva Raya. He was a strong and powerful man. He woke up early in the morning, he had a great breakfast, presumably high in protein, and he spent the morning working out. Under him, beginning in 1509, Vijayanagara reached its highest point of its power. Krishna Deva Raya crushed Ismail Adil Shah of Bijapur at the great Battle of Raichur. But this Krishna Deva Raya was a very arrogant person. He treated the defeated king with no respect. He made him wait for an audience for a month, and when he finally granted the audience, a condition for peace was that the Adil Shah should come and kiss his foot. Not good. Krishna Deva Raya died in 1530. And then there were a bunch of lame successors, after which a regent took control. The regent was Rama Raya, who held together the government of the kingdom. Rama Raya inherited Krishna Deva Raya's arrogance and he added it to his strategy. If Krishna Deva Raya was rude towards the sultans, Rama Raya was even more. There was one time he helped the Sultan of Bijapur defeat the Sultan of Ahmadnagar. But once inside Ahmadnagar, Rama Raya commanded his troops to enter the mosque and perform Hindu worships. Not good. The Sultan was deeply offended, but he lacked the power to respond. The provocations multiplied. Rama Raya refused to grant proper honors to Muslim ambassadors at his court. He would not allow them to sit in his presence. He made them walk on foot in his public train and would not let them mount their horses till he gave the order. His soldiers treated Muslim envoys with insolence and contemptuous language. Adil Shah of Bijapur finally said enough is enough. He convened an assembly of advisors. They reminded him that at the time of the Bahmani Empire, when the whole strength of the Muslim power was in one hand, they were able to combat Vijayanagara. And this is what they have to do now. The four sultans declared war on Vijayanagara. The battle began on January 23, 1565. The Hindu left was commanded by Rama Raya's brother Tirumala. Rama Raya was in the center, and the right was under his other brother Venkatadiri. Rama Raya was 96 years old. He came to the battlefield seated on a throne, and his officers told him, "Dude, get on a horse or an elephant or something." But Rama Raya was arrogant. He remarked that the enemy were children and they would soon be put to flight. The Hindu attack drove forward. Rama Raya was so confident of victory that he said, "Hey, bring me the head of Hussain Nizam Shah, but capture Ali Adil Shah and Ibrahim Qutub Shah alive so that they can be kept in iron cages for the rest of their lives." Then he made himself comfortable on his rich throne that was set with jewels, and he ordered his treasurer to place heaps of money around him so that he could reward his soldiers even as they were in battle. That is grade A arrogance for you. Needless to say, Vijayanagara didn't do well in this war. Rama Raya was captured. Hussain Nizam Shah ordered his head struck off on the field and raised on a long spear so that it could be seen by the Hindu troops. For 5 months, they slaughtered people, they broke down temples, they broke down palaces, they demolished statues and broke beautiful artifacts such as the Narsimha monolith. They had been treated so badly by Rama Raya for all these years, and they took out their anger. Robert Sewell, the historian, wrote that never in the history of the world has such havoc been ruined, has such a city that is so magnificent be reduced to absolutely nothing. The kingdom of Vijayanagara was an empire that was larger than Rome. It had spent 4 decades convinced that its neighbors were too divided to threaten it. It insulted them. It humiliated them. It picked wars to keep them weak. The strategy worked until one day it didn't. The neighbors decided they had more to gain from each other rather than being played against each other. And isn't this a lesson for rulers of the modern day world? You should treat your allies with respect so they don't gang up with each other against you. The ruins at Hampi still stand, and when you look at them, you realize that this is a history that deserves to be remembered. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like videos on Indian history, mythology, and Buddhism, please consider subscribing for this channel. Have a great 7 days and enjoy the week that lies ahead. Bye.